agreeing a specific deal. Yes, and this is about your deal pack. So by this point, as this is all happening and you're moving, potential investors through, don't wait until you've got to the point that you've got heads of terms agreed to then start to go, just start looking for properties now. No, you've got to do it at the same time. Now, it doesn't mean that you can then just go gung-ho and just start offering on things, but it means that once you've got someone at that point that they're ready, you've already got line of sight on some potential deals that are in your area, that you've seen, that you know the upsides and downsides, that you know what numbers work, and so then you can just forge ahead. So make sure you're filling up your deal pipeline as you go through this process, because it's this is the hard part of property. You've got to run deals and money at the same time. But the difference now is that you can confidently offer and negotiate on potential projects because you've got that commitment. Yes, don't wait until this point to look for deals, or you're going to have a large lag, which we don't want. So the next part of this is getting a consistent deal pack. So when I say deal pack, I mean when you find a deal, what information does someone need on that deal to be able to make a decision on if they're happy to work on that deal with you or invest their money into that deal with you. Now this, if you think back, feels like many hours ago, it was. If you think back to deal pipeline within sourcing and acquisitions, we spoke a lot about having your deal analyzers built and ready so that you can consistently and quickly analyse deals. This now links into this part of the process here because we want to be able to create these deal packs as quickly and easily as possible. And when we're replicating the same thing every time, that's when you can have more people to help you to do it, and it's not so reliant on you and what you know. Right, so when I say deal pack, the way that we do this is to essentially create a PowerPoint document. It doesn't actually have to be that pretty, but that's the way that we find easiest to pull together all the information on a deal. It doesn't have to be PowerPoint, no, you could do it in Word. I guess if you're really old school, you could do it by writing it down, but I think I'd probably push yourself to do this on a computer so that you can have other people feeding in, even if they're not next to you physically. So here's some areas to consider when you're pulling that deal pack together. So you want to have a few different sections. So for example, area. A bit of information about the area details of this particular deal. So I've said micro and macro. So micro is in what amenities are there within a close vicinity of that particular deal, and macro, the wider area. The macro may not be so relevant if you have a very consistent area that you always invest in, because then investors will already know what you're doing because you've kind of spoken to them about it as they've gone through that process. But no harm in reminding them. So why this specific property in this specific area and why this wider area. And it could be a few different slides on this. Some location maps and some photos of the area just to bring it to life. Overview. An overview of the deal itself. How's it going to work? What's the plan for this deal? What's the exit plan? So the way we do this is a one-pager in PowerPoint. So this is a block of, explain what it is. It's a block of 4 flats. It's all on one freehold. They're in bad condition, that kind of thing. So just give an overview, and so the plan is to refurbish them and then rent them all out individually. So what's the broad plan? Numbers. What are the key numbers? Bum bum bum. So you could have, the way we split it out is we have a one-pager within our PowerPoint document that literally gives the key figures. So like purchase price, fees, refurb, refinance costs, end value, how much it's going to rent for at the end, the uplift on cost. So like a one page of just real key numbers, not too much detail. And if the investors that we're working with are particularly detailed, then we do also send a separate spreadsheet alongside it, which is what I showed you previously back in the sourcing and acquisitions section. So this is something that if you've got a deal analyzer that you're using, which you should be creating by now, then you could send that as well if it's the right kind of person to receive that. Because I know some people look at our deal analyzer and it's too much, but for others it's reassuring. Great, bring it to life. Photos, floor plans. How can you take someone who's never seen it to be there and to get some sort of understanding about what it is? Comparables. Evidence to back up the end values. So this is a 3-bedroom house in a bad condition, in good condition. It's down the other end of the road. One sold a few months ago. It's gone for this. You could put Rightmove screenshots, just something to back up where you've got your figures from. Again, risks and mitigants. What could go wrong? What are the unknowns? What's the plan for mitigating against them? So those, I would say, are the key areas to consider, but there may be some others. So for example, anything else that's relevant from your deal criteria. So go back to that point. Hopefully you've got that somewhere nearby, your deal criteria. Is there anything else that stands out from what you've got in yours that you'd want to have explained in a deal pack to someone who's getting some information about that particular deal? You could have stuff about planning permission or building control sign-off, for example. Anything else relevant to your investor avatar? So you could have it, you could want to juxtapose the returns on this project alongside the current savings account returns, perhaps. You could also have some other previous deal examples, just some perhaps some one-pagers. You could also have about you, and you could have about and your team as well. Great. So once you've put together your deal pack, then that can go over to the investor and for them to agree that they're happy to proceed. And if they are, great, they should be, because you've briefed them up until this point. They know what you do, because you're clear what you do, because you know your deal criteria. So you've explained all that up front. You've got the right person, you've got them through and across the line, so they've signed. Yeah, so it should be no surprise what you end up sending over in that deal pack. So it should be, yes, we're in. Woohoo! So what happens then is, during the way we run it is during the purchase process of a property, that is when with a new investor, that's when we get the full contract drafted and signed. So we'd send it, if it's a more complicated setup or something a bit new and different, I'd send it to a contracts lawyer, someone who obviously knows property, and make sure that all parties sign it. Some examples of what this contract could be, or names of it should I say, it could be a JV contract, it could be a loan agreement, it could be a shareholders agreement. Those are probably the main three that it would be. And so I would take advice from a contracts lawyer on that. So yeah, ding, your little pink one down the bottom there. And there we are. That is us going through that whole process. And this whole process is essentially managed by the CRM system, because you can see that the statuses that we have on Lesser Known CRM basically mirror this pipeline process.